freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 411 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is the American Dream, and our guest is Martha Llamas. Martha is a survivor of domestic violence and was shot by her violent ex-boyfriend and left for dead. She does not think the responsibility lies with the guns, but with the owners, and wants to promote a healthy dialogue in the support of Second Amendment rights. Martha is an inspiring immigrant woman from Jalisco, Mexico, and has transcended her humble beginnings to manifest the American dream. Escaping poverty and domestic abuse, she journeyed to the U.S. enduring hardship to create a better life for herself and her family. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Very honored to be with you guys. I admire you guys a lot.
Thank you. I'm right back at you. We've known each other for a while. We end up traveling in the same circles, and we keep saying, I gotta have you on the show. And finally our calendars coincided.
Yep. A few years. We've been seeing each other for a few years, and I always admire you, all the things you're doing. And I'm like, I have to go to her show. But one of my dreams, I'm going to be in her show one of these days. And finally, we're making it happen.
Oh, I just love it. Well, your story honestly should be made into a movie. Like somebody, or it should be one of those what are those shows on TV where it's like a real life drama every week.
Oh Lord.
Because many people, honestly, you have such a long and varied story of trial and success, but many people who have been victimized by crime, violent crime, as you were, they seem to become anti-gun. Like they feel like this never would have happened to me if guns didn't exist. But you consider yourself a survivor, and you live your life as a survivor and as a builder of things and a helper of others. And you are an advocate for the Second Amendment. So I just wonder, is there a correlation between those two mindsets, the victim mindset and the survivor mindset?
Well, I would say there's different things in my family. They're hunters, of course. My brothers, they always love to go hunting. I grew up with guns, in living in the life of having a gun next to me all the time. And I like the guy who shot me. He was a big drug lord, and he always carried guns. And growing up like that, I was like, and my sisters, actually, they're afraid of guns. I'm not, and they never got shot. So I'd say if you have to be very strong, and you should not be afraid of the guns, because it's not the guns, it's the people behind the guns. I seen this crazy dude who shot me with tons of guns, and the guns don't do anything unless he's, psycho crazy, whatever. And he never owned a legal gun.
But I was going to say, he wasn't legally allowed to own a gun in the first place.
No, he was not. And I could tell you, he would buy any gun he wanted in downtown LA. I mean, here in South Phoenix, anywhere. And he would buy it, and he would erase the serial numbers, and that was it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that.
Yeah, which is another felony charge.
Right. So all the laws didn't stop him from living his life of crime. All of the laws didn't stop him from acquiring firearms in LA, in Los Angeles, right?
Yes,
And all the laws didn't prevent him from almost taking your life.
exactly.
Which is
And
against the law.
a lot of people don't get that. I mean, as a good citizen, I own guns, and all my guns are registered.
Mhm.
The government knows every gun I have because they're under my name.
Mhm.
But
Right.
those people, they don't.
Right. Like, because
mean-
laws aren't going to stop them. So I have to dig in a little bit about what the heck is a nice girl like you doing with a dude who's breaking the law left, right, and center and leaves you for dead after putting a bullet in you. Like, what the heck was going on?
Okay.
Because that is not you today.
I know it's another life. I'm living a different life now. Well, I came here to the United States when I was 11 years old. My mom brought us all she got us all passports. Her running away from domestic violence herself from my father. So she left my dad when she was 30, and she came to Mexico across the border, like Nogales, Sonora, and she lived there for 4 years. And after 4 years, she got us all passport, and then we came to the United States. And because she was a single mother of 8, and she had to work 2 jobs, so we grew up in South Phoenix with zero. At 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock, you have to have dinner, blah, blah, blah. No, it was on our own. So I grew up in South Phoenix and living like a wild child. I didn't have any rules, but the best thing, I never used any drugs. I never drank. I never did anything bad. It was just happy child. By the age of 17, I started a food fight in the cafeteria, and I got kicked out. And I got suspended for 2 weeks, 3 months before I was going to graduate.
Oh,
and
gosh.
and I'm like, okay, so that's not for me. My mom got so upset that she told me, okay, if you don't want to go to school, you need to find a husband who can support you. This is the mentality that in the Hispanic community still exists. If you don't like school, you need to find somebody who can support you. And I was tired of partying with my friends. I was 17 years old. I lived a whole life already. So one night there was this party, and it was like a quinceañera, and I went. I mean, this guy, he had a gun in his belt, and he was very attractive, big tall guy, and I'm like, he's a nice guy, it looks like, right? He's perfect for me. He can support me. He could, it's 10 years older than me. No, 15 years older than me. And I fell in love with him. He was 15 years older than me, and he just talked to me nice and loved me. And 3 months later, I was moving in with him. But I didn't know I was moving with the devil, because from here, he took me to California. And 3 months later, I found out that he was a very aggressive person. And he started, harassing me, beating me. I mean, if any woman goes through rape, beat, anything, torture, I went through that. It was very, I tried to run probably like 10 times, and he will always find me and bring me back and lock me up. It was one of those things that he would, when we would fall asleep, he would put handcuffs on me so I don't go out. Or if I move, he would feel it. And we were surrounded by his family, so I didn't have any family close to me. He took me away from my family, and I was literally kidnapped and for 4 years.
Wow.
I mean, a year later, I ended up having my first child. Then 3 years later, I had the second child, and I was back and forth because he was in the drug business. We would travel every 6 months. We would back and forth to California and Arizona. And now my son was 4 years old, and I had it. I could not take it anymore because he was getting more aggressive. I mean, he used to torture me for like 12 hours.
Oh my God.
He would just put the gun through my mouth and tell me, well, you have to tell me who's this guy that you're looking at, or that kind of extremely jealous person. And he would just do so many bad things to me that he just mentally, myself, I had to block myself from pain and from thinking that I'm going to die. I was like ready to die every day that he would get crazy and starts beating me. I was ready to die. It was like, okay, I'm ready. It was very traumatic. But
and then the day that everything kind of came to a head, or the night, whatever it was, wasn't your child sitting right next to you when this person shot you?
it was on a Wednesday at 6 p.m. in October 1996. He came over drunk and all drugged up, and he says, pack your stuff, we're going back to California. I was then already living with my mom in the apartment, and my brothers were with me. I had 3 children. I was taking care of my sister's children and my 2 boys, and I was by myself, and he came very, very upset, very, and he says, pack your stuff, we're moving back to California. And I says, no more. I can't take this anymore. I started fighting back. And of course, I always had a gun with me. He always carried his. And I grabbed my 45 and I tell him, if you touch me one more time, this is it. I'm done with this. I can't take it anymore. It was one of those desperation moments. I remember a week ago, I was reading about shelters for domestic violence. I was like, maybe if I disappear and I just go hide there. And a week before that, and I'm like, I was so scared, so afraid of him. I cannot even open or look through the window because he would be watching me. That's how bad it was. And then that night he comes and I grabbed a gun and I said, if you touch me one more time, I'm gonna defend myself. So I grabbed my gun and because he's carrying my 8-month-old baby in his arms, and I shoot to the floor and I says, that's it. I'm serious now. So when I shoot to the floor, then he like shakes up like, oh, she's serious. And then he grabs my baby and throws it into the bed. And when he throws my baby, I just turn around and see where the baby landed. And as soon as I turn around, he jumps and starts on top of me, and throws me into the bed and starts beating me with the back of the gun and starts hitting me and doing all kinds of things. And all of a sudden he hits me on my left shoulder and then across my back. So he shoots me and all I just hear, when you go numbed, and I'm like, what just happened? And my baby was behind me. And I just sat up from the bed and looked out where my baby was, and I saw him full of blood. Because he shot me. And then I'm like, oh my God. And I thought it was my baby who got hurt. And then he gets up, he looks all the blood and everything. And I start screaming. I says, please let me live for my babies. And I see the other children crying, my baby crying, and it's a chaos. It's a mess. And then he shakes up and looks up. And that's when you see the devil in his eyes, and turns around and takes off. And then I sit up and I see, I feel just very hot, no pain, just my back very hot, like bleeding a lot. And then I just, call 911, and that was it. 5 minutes later, they tell me, walk out. Can you walk out the door? And I just stand outside it was in the 2nd floor, stand outside and wait for the ambulance. And all I hear, police and ambulance. And then I passed out. The next thing I remember is the next day in the hospital, opening my eyes with my family next to me. Wow. And that was the old Martha.
Yes.
I'm tired now.
I know, right?
Wow.
And what a horrible event.
Yes.
But that was your gateway to freedom from this man.
When I woke up in the hospital, I felt like a ton of bricks fell off of my back. And I'm like, I started smiling. I says, oh my God, I made it. That's all I said. And my sisters were holding my hands, and I'm like, oh, that was it. It was, for me, it was like, oh my God, no more.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt.
Because you knew that he would run and he would stay away from you because now he's afraid that you're going to call the police for attempted murder. Is that kind of?
I thought he was caught. I thought he was caught. I thought he's in jail. And then a week later, I found out that he was not in jail. So police was protecting me. And they told me, you cannot be in this apartment. You have to move out and you have to go to a safer place. So that's what they did for a month after I got better. And after that, I was on my own, and he literally disappeared for a few years. I didn't know anything about him. And I'm like, okay. So I was mentally, because I already was prepared. I don't know, maybe he prepared me to be stronger, but I was mentally prepared since I'm ready. What's next? You're not gonna torture me anymore. I'm not afraid anymore. And that's what I think. All those times he used to beat me and torture me, and I was training myself on not to be afraid.
Right.
I was ready.
Goodness. And so you were able to, I mean, you have such a vivacious spirit, right? And you have such a, like you just said, what's next? What am I going to do next? What am I going to do next?
Yes.
Not like running from something, but running towards what's better. And that is so inspiring. And I just love it. And then you've got these little children.
Yes.
This is their father.
They're free from that too, though, because
that's
of that.
true.
He signed the ticket.
That's a messy situation.
Yeah.
It is actually I didn't have time to feel petty for myself. I didn't have time to say, oh, poor Martha, blah, blah, blah. No, because my mother was the same way. My mother, she was kidnapped when she was 11 and my dad was 30. And at the age of 14, she was having babies. Every 2 years, she will have a baby. And she never told us anything negative about my dad.
Wow.
I mean, she was like, no, I have to bring food to the table. Well, let's go pick up the crop. Let's go clean the clothes in the river. Because I grew up after 7 in the mountains. I call my husband, I'm a hillbilly. I know. I used to wash my clothes at the age 5 at the river. So I think I get that from my mother. They're very strong. So after I got shot, a month later, I had 2 boys. And one of the things that I remember is still as of today. And I says, what do I do, Mom? Do I go apply for food stamps? I mean, I don't know. In the 90s or in the Hispanic community or in the poor communities, they tell you, the more kids you have, the more money you get from the government. And I'm like, you know that? Did you know that? So that's how we grew up. Yeah. And it's real. And my mom says, you know what? No, I don't want you to ask for handouts. You need to go get a job. My mom was working in this cleaning company. And I says, Martha, can you use your arm now? I said, still hurts, but I can still work. I can move my arm. So you're going to start working with me. And this is cleaning toilets. And I says, okay, let's do it. So we living in this, my mom's friend's house. We were living in one room. It was my 3 little brothers, my mom, and my 2 kids and myself in one bedroom. So we would take turns to sleep in 47th Avenue in Thomas, in one of the houses somewhere around there. We rented this room and we started working. And when a month later, I started working. And when I got my first check, there was $300 for 2 weeks. It was just like, a miracle. I got money. I got money on my own. And it was another piece of freedom. Yeah. It was like, oh my God, I can go buy McDonald's to my kids. I can do this, I can do that. And it was just another step to more freedom. And I loved my job so much that I moved up. 6 months later, I became a night crew supervisor. Then a year later, a day porter supervisor. Then 3 years later, I'm running the company. I'm like falling in love with all my clients. And this is where I met my husband. I was like,
literally falling in love with your clients.
Literally. And 4 years later, I was running everything. My boss didn't speak Spanish, and 95% of the employees didn't speak English. So it was perfect for me. So he was actually, I was running his company. And after 4 years, I says, I'm done. I'm ready to buy my own company. This is in 1999, 2000. And by then I was dating my husband now, Ron Pickner. And we were living together. And I told him all the troubles that my boss was having. And he says, well, why don't we make a proposal and buy him out? And we did. In 2002, we were blessed to buy our own janitorial company. We started with 10 employees. From 8 hours a day, I went to 16 hours a day working.
Yeah.
Day and night. In 2005, we paid all the loans, we paid all the company. By then, I already had 70 people working for me.
Wow.
No, wait, when you own a business, you don't work.
Oh.
Right, you just sit
All
back
you do
and
is
count
work,
money.
right?
If that's
Oh,
work.
God.
Oh.
No, there's a very rough time.
Yeah, you go from 8
times.
hours to 20 hours overnight.
Literally, during the day, I would take care of the clients, and at night, I would take care of the employees.
Right.
Yeah.
And my husband will take care of the payroll, the numbers, and all that stuff. And we made it a very successful business. And I can say that I consider myself very successful. I've been running it for 20 years.
Wow.
And the number one in the United States as a franchisee.
That's
Awesome.
fantastic. Well, tell us the name of your business.
It's Janny King, DBA M&R Inc. It's Martha and Rod, but it's a franchise. So it's fun for me.
Because that's a nationwide brand, right? Janny King.
It's actually worldwide brand.
Wow.
It's like a McDonald's, but when you
Yeah.
own a McDonald's. So the Janny King is in Brazil, in Europe, in Mexico, all over the world.
And you are the number one in.
I can say I've lasted for the longest time. I'm the number one, and I build over almost over 2 million a year since 2003.
Awesome.
Wow.
So I clean a lot of toilets.
Yeah. You know what? We do what we need to do, right? I mean, we have that same entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that's one of the things that drew us to each other, because, we like to enjoy the spoils of our work and dress well and that, but we clean toilets sometimes.
And I move furniture.
And he moves furniture
at 67. So
in 120-degree heat in the summer, because that's what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is the beauty of this country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a high school dropout.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a degree of business. It's just, if you work hard and you are proud of what you are and what you can do, anything can happen. And that's just what I tell everyone, that since day one, that when I bought my business, one of the things I do a lot, and it's helping my people learn English, helping them become U.S. citizens and be independent. Actually, I have beautiful stories. One of my supervisors that works for me, she's been with me for 17 years. And I help her get out of the Section A system of the government, the food stamps, the everything. She bought her house in 2005. And she's a single mother, and she had 5 kids. So I can say, and her name is Christina. And Christina, you can get out of the system.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the system, they cut your wings.
Right.
They don't let you be independent, because you're waiting every month for that check. Yeah. And it's not right. It's not. I say that's government abuse.
Right. And they penalize you too when you try to work by taking away some of your.
And I live that every day, because some of my employees, they cannot work more than 4 hours, and I just pull my hair. It's like, really? If they work 6 hours, then the check gets cuts back.
Right.
I'm like, my God, this is crazy.
So why the government isn't encouraging anybody to get off of the government umbilical cord, right? Otherwise, they would structure it differently and say, we're going to reward you for trying to better yourself and wean off of the government support. It really is a trap.
It is a big trouble. And remember what my mom said. It's like, don't get handouts. You go work for whatever you want. And that's what I do all the time with my own employees, but people that I talk to, or people they look up to me and they want to, Martha, what do I do? So this is the example I tell them all the time. And it's been a marvelous ride for me. And being independent, being a businesswoman, and I talk to a lot of women, especially in domestic violence. I says, look at me.
Yeah.
I'm no different than you. And I did it. And I did it working in the lowest paying jobs,
Right.
And,
So your first generation
yes.
immigrant, right?
Yes.
Citizenship. So you are female, you are a minority, you're Hispanic. So there are people just using megaphones right now saying, you can't get ahead in this country because we're so instilled in racism, and the men won't let you get ahead, and on and on and on. And you are a stereotype just shatterer. And I feel like, there are more of people with your story than we're ever going to know, but you're still very rare. But I just wish that more people could break that mental cage that they're in, that is believing that all those lies that say you are impossible. How are you possible?
Because I think it's because I don't believe in like, okay, because you're white, you're better than me. I don't believe that. We're all humans.
Exactly.
You have the same capability as I do. I don't care the color of your skin.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. That I don't understand. I'm with you. Like, because you're Black, you're Hispanic. I'm like, what does that has to do with anything? Just be good or bad. I mean, what? I have a lot of Black friends, and we always argue. I says, can I call you, those words that you use because I'm Hispanic, or because I'm, I don't know. I don't understand that part. I don't see you as a different person because you're white. I just see your heart.
Yeah.
And if you're good or bad. For me, that doesn't go. I don't understand that part. And that is the big problem right now, that in our party or in the division in America, it's like, oh, because you're Hispanic. And I get that a lot. In my business, I says, Martha, you can apply for the government and work for the government because you're Hispanic. I says, no, you hire me because I do a good job, not because I'm Hispanic and I'm a woman. If don't use me as a trap. And by the way, I don't like to work with the government because they're so cheap and they never pay good. So I'm sorry.
Well, Martha, I was raised in South Phoenix. Okay, so way south, and there was every color of person there. We were mixed really bad, and the ones that depended on the government are still depending on the government. The ones that said, no, I want a job, which there was a few, they are the ones that got out of there. And, so.
Totally. The first, my mom brought us in 13th Street and Broadway. I was literally fighting with the Black folks there because I didn't speak English. And I was like literally physically fighting to earn my way into living in those neighborhoods. So I literally, you know what I mean, right?
It was a battle. It was
a battle. That's it.
Yep.
And I learned the hard way. But yeah, that's what I think. I mean, it's just, for me, there's no black, white, and brown. You're good, you're bad, and that's it.
Yeah.
This
and
is America.
You owe it to your mom for giving you the drive to get out.
Yeah.
And that's my if anything that my mom and dad gave me, is because we were very poor, is get out and make a living. Yeah. And
exactly.
When I was late teens, I was making more money than my dad.
Yeah.
And so, but that's the drive. He gave me that drive to work.
So what about your children then? Are they involved in your business? Are they, what path have they chosen?
The older one, it's working with us, so he's involved in our business. And the youngest one, actually, he's in the Army. Oh. He joined. he's a very proud Army guy, and right now he's in Poland, I think. He's been
Wow.
For the last 3 years. So he
Wow.
just fell in love with the military, and he's just my Army boy.
Awesome.
He's
Well,
26 years old. And
thank
he's
you.
loving, he's living the life, and he's loving every minute. And he's very passionate about guns too. Both of my boys, they love guns.
How about
And
your
I'm like,
husband? How about your husband? Is he a gun guy too?
no, he's not actually. I gave him as a present. I gave him a shotgun like 10 years ago, and he hasn't used it.
Well, you know
But
what? That's okay,
But he
because he's
understands.
not
Yeah.
trying to take your rights or my rights away just because he doesn't care for them. You know,
he doesn't care, but he loves them. He doesn't use them as a
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
respects that, and
Right.
I have guns, and he doesn't care. He loves them too, but
Well, and
he's
he
not
doesn't-
like my kids that they want to go practice, or they want to go shoot some targets or something. My husband is not like that. He's an
Yeah.
engineer.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are business people, because that's like us. Even when we had our gun shop, our retail gun shop, people were like, "Oh, you're probably out shooting all the time." We're like, we work. That's what we do.
Exactly.
I haven't went shooting in a long time. Way
It's
too
true.
long.
It's
So,
true.
but I love it.
I know.
So, and your husband is a huge history buff. And so
Yes.
when I'm looking at, your son, his stepson, you all met so young that he probably just sees your husband as the dad, his
Totally.
dad, period.
My
right?
kids don't know any other dad.
Yeah.
They
And-
only know Ron, my husband.
And so
And
I
I'm
see.
sorry.
No, you go ahead.
So when my sons were when I 18, I said, son, if you want to know, let me go back a little bit. When in 2005, when I bought the business, I paid the business. Then a lot of the franchisor wanted to know about my life story, and I never brought what happened to me. I'm like, because I was busy working, I never had time to think back. And in 2006, they did an interview on me, and they wanted to take me to national TV in the Hispanic community. And I did, and I'm like, wait a minute, my kids never knew what happened to me, because I bury it literally. Not even my husband knew about it, the details, because I didn't want to talk about it. Nobody knew except my mom and my families, and I'd never told them about all the details until when they interviewed me 10 years later. And I'm like, holy shit, now I have to tell my boys what the real dad did to me. And that was a big shocking thing for me, opening the Pandora box and start talking. That was my therapy. That was after 10 years talking about everything that happened to me. So when my kids turned 18, I told them, you are more than welcome to look back into your past life. If you want to talk to your dad, the sperm donor, I told them.
Yeah.
And you are more than welcome. Just never bring them to my life. And my youngest son says, Mother, I only have one father, and it's my dad. I don't want it. If I ever see that crazy dude, I'm gonna shoot him. So he says, no, don't do that. But that was his response. That was his response. And he says, I don't have another dad, but one dad. So we're very proud of both of them.
Absolutely. Well, so then I'm looking at, your son, the younger son. He's gone to the Army. And I know just from our relationship, off air, you and I, that your husband is a huge history buff.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering if that connection to, he collects stuff from the Revolutionary War and George Washington and all of that, if that has given your sons a completely different appreciation for where this country started and what it was built for, and all those things that maybe they wouldn't have had without your husband and his passion.
Yes, that's one thing that I love about him, that he talks about history all the time, and I'm in love with history. I love this country so much. I'm very thankful with that we grew up, my kids grew up and learning about paintings, all the daguerreotypes, the paper, the Constitution, everything. I mean, they grew up. My son's favorite president is Teddy Roosevelt because he was a Rough Rider, a gun owner, everything in between, right?
Mhm.
So we love that, and Ron taught us so much, and he's great on that. He has, and the club, there's a big club. It's called American Political Item Collectors, and there's like 2,000 members all over the United States, and they collect everything that has to do with politicals. It doesn't matter what.
Well, we, being in the auction business, but it just having to
Oh.
have a connection and sort of a layman's understanding of history all by itself, I think that sounds like an interesting club for us to check out. But you really can't study our founding without having an appreciation and a respect for what was intended, what was accomplished. And nowadays, to hear this sort of Marxist ideology trying to paint who we are as a nation through this lens of Marxism and vilify and make every single thing that America has ever done ugly and dirty and just steeped in hateful racism. It's like, no, you are speaking a completely different language, and it has to be this weird lens that we're looking through, because that has not been our experience, obviously not your experience. I mean, in 2021, you, this high school dropout, first generation immigrant, built your own way to own a business. You won a national award.
I never in a million years would respected that. It was...
Talk to us about this award. And you got to meet the president of the United States.
Oh my God.
While you were accepting this award, right?
Actually, it was before that. I met the president like 3-4 times. But let me go back a little bit. And when I was running my business, it was great until 2012, right? That's when the president back in the day, it was Obama, 2012 says, if you have more than 60 employees, you need to remember that famous saying.
Yes.
So that's what I'm like, what in the world, the government is telling me what to do now? I was not involved in politics back in the day. I was just running my business, doing my thing that I do best, right? And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And I asked my husband, I says, so now I have to cut back people? I had 70 people. I literally, in few months, I had to figure out, we had to come up with or put them in part-time, lay off people, because this is a janitorial business. We cannot afford to buy insurance for all of them.
Right.
It was,
but it was affordable healthcare, right? I mean, affordable.
It was so crazy. And I says, you know what? I'm gonna get to meet every single politician and see who's getting into my business.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, this is, Darla Gonzalez, right? And she was back in the day, says, Darla, what is going on? Why is the government telling me what to do? They do their business, I do mine. So that's when I started getting involved into says, okay, first I met Governor Ducey. Then I met the local representatives, and then when I started meeting them, then they started asking me about my life story. And that's what I'm like, I don't get into my business. And I told them about my life story, and then like, oh, interesting. So the politicians started getting more interested and getting to know me, because I know the Hispanic community, I have a big following, and I know a lot of businesses, and you know how politicians are, right?
Oh, yep.
So, okay, so then after being local here to 2014, 2015, then the President Trump started running, And then I got attention nationally. So at first I met the senators, then I met the vice president. I had got a round table with the vice president, Mike Pence, to represent the Hispanic community, business owners. And I told them what I do. I says, I'm very passionate about my country. I'm living my American dream, and I'm trying to help everyone to do it the right way, become US citizens, learn English, blend in, and love this country. And that's what I did for many, many, many years. And I told that to vice president. Then after that, I got called to the White House. And
you went to the actual White House to meet
I went to the White House.
You didn't come to an event where you were. You went to the White House to meet Trump.
I went to the White House with the group. And
you need to make a movie of your life. I'm telling you right now, this is amazing.
I'm working on my book.
Yes, go on. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
In 2020, I got invited to the White House, and then what happened? That was in February. In 2020, in March, then COVID happened. Everything gets locked up, right? So 2 weeks later, and I'm like, holy cow, now what happens? So everything gets shut down, and I come back home, and I says, and one of my friends said, Martha, did you get to meet the president? No, he was somewhere in India praying or something. I says, but when he comes back, he's gonna come and get me and ask for me to be there with him. That's a joke. I said that, and I'm like, okay, cool. So in the meantime, I reinvented my business. I said, okay, what are we doing to help others, to help the businesses? So my husband did research, and we work, and then I started doing fogging. I says, I'm gonna be a soldier killing these little things that we cannot even see, because we clean hospitals, we do terminal cleans, we disinfect things. So my husband bought this equipment, and I built a team of people so I can start working with the facilities and started disinfecting. So I did a commercial, I did and then the clients will lay off people, and they says, Martha, somebody had COVID here, so can you come and disinfect and fog? I actually made money while COVID was happening.
Right? Very clever.
It's like, okay, so that's when I started my other business at the Llamas production, because I said, everybody's sitting at home, what are they doing? Just watching TV and their phones. So I'm going to start a media company. Or I'm going to get involved with somebody who knows what to do. And that's when I started the Llamas production company. And then in March, I don't know if you remember, the first time President Trump got out of the White House, it was in March, and he came here to Honeywell to open the big facility when they were making masks. So, and I was there to represent the Hispanic community in Arizona and all that stuff. So that was the other time I met him. Wow. And then in September, he did a roundtable with the Hispanic community. I think you were there in the audience. It was in September, but there was 12 Hispanic, representatives of Arizona. And I was there, and I told President Trump in 5 minutes, my whole life story. And actually that Dinesh D'Souza, you know him? Remember? Yep. Okay. He grabbed my 5-minute piece, and put it on his website. And he said, this is how, what did he say? He made it sound so cool that it was like, it went viral. 2 million people saw that video. And I'm like, holy cow. That was crazy.
That's amazing.
That's my run with the politicians. Remember when I said in 2012, I'm going to go all the way to the top. I'm going to get to meet every politician so they can hear what they're doing to my business.
Yeah.
And it happened.
It's amazing. Like, you just manifest whatever it is you're heading towards.
Yes.
So we have a president who's a minority, and he's hurting the exact population that he's supposed to help. So then we have President Trump, who's not a minority, but a business person. And then he actually, even through COVID and everything else, under his presidency, your business thrives again, right? And now here we are Again, now this guy, it's not about being a minority, but that party, that Democratic Party, not my Democratic neighbor, but this party platform, it's like they just want to crush small business. I don't know that they know they're doing that. I don't know if that's what their intention is, but that's the actual result of it. As the
And
taxes are crazy, the expenses are out of control, the regulations are job killing.
Because we're giving too many handouts. We're not letting people go out and do what you did.
Exactly. It's like they want to pamper you. They want to, oh, no, don't worry. I'll give you money. That's how I feel.
They want to control you. It's not
They
pamper
want
you.
to
They want to
control
control you.
Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't have common sense, unfortunately,
Right.
that to say, no, I don't
Right.
want this. I can do it on my own. And it's for generations. I grew up not here in the United States, and I feel very sad and sorry for people who are fourth generation. They still have that mentality. Oh, my grandpa used to get food stamps. How I need to keep doing that. And I see that very often in my own community, because I remember talking to my friends or my mom's friends saying, if you have more children, the government is going to give you more checks. $400 per child. I have 5 children. Can you imagine? Yeah. And I'm like, oh no. And that is the mentality in the poor communities. It doesn't matter what race, what color you are, anything. It just the poor mentality.
Right.
And
so the government will give you just enough money to get you to get by, barely get by, and keep you down, and then punish you if you try to do better. And that's the problem. But if people break free from that, whether it's say $800 a month or whatever they get, break free from that and make $1,200, $1,500 or more, then they can be free.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is my bandera. That's what I talk to all the women out there that I see they're struggling and they're doing, and they want to get out of the system.
Yeah.
I hold their hands and I says, you move on. Yes. Don't give up that easy. Don't give up your freedom.
Well, thank God for you, Martha.
I have a friend, Martha, that came here when he was like 7 with his family from Mexico illegally. He came here. And so he's 7 years old, and he's in his 40s now, has his own family. He's never taken a penny handout when he became an adult, but he's struggling because he's afraid if he goes to try to get in the system correct, if it doesn't go, they'll make him leave and then leave his kids here. But he's struggling with that. But he's a hard worker, and he's doing the best he can. And it's good. There's people out there that really want to be better, and they don't want a government handout.
Exactly. And there's the myth out there. Unfortunately, a lot of our friends, they don't know how hard it is for people that are illegally here. They've been here for more than 30 years illegally, but they run $1 million companies. Yeah. And they're good citizens. And this is one of the things that for the last, few years, I'm like, why in the world we don't fix the immigration system? Just let's come up with the plan. The problem is there. Now we have to find a solution. Right. And the government is missing in so much, because if they bring these people out of the shadows, they start paying Social Security, they start paying taxes, and they become good citizens. Get rid of the bad people. Yeah. Get rid of all the criminals, all the gangs, get rid of the killers. Yeah. I mean, get them out of this country. But there's a lot of good people that are here working their butts off, but they're so afraid of coming out of the shadows.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's crazy.
It's so crazy. We can talk forever about
I know. It's a tough, that whole thing is a tough problem. And then when there's such a surge right now of people busting through our borders, now people are just so mad. American citizens are just so mad that they can't even think logically about how to solve the problem.
And they're stereotyping them.
That's true.
They're stereotyping. Instead of thinking there are some good people that are coming across, they're saying they're all bad.
Yeah, and that is the sad part.
And the other side's like, no, they're all just wonderful, beautiful people. And it's like,
and that's wrong.
No, that is, hey, remember 9/11? They were all, those people were here legally with passports. Exactly. They didn't cross the border.
Exactly. All right, we have got to wrap up.
Okay.
So I just wanted to say that I said in 2021 you were honored with an award and got to meet some amazing people, but your award was called
The Champion of Freedom Award.
Champion of Freedom.
of
The
Freedom.
Champion of Freedom Award by Rick Scott gave me the honor to give me that medal for all the things I've been doing with my community. And it was just, President Trump actually was the first one who get that award by Rick Scott.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was the second one. And there was another person from Venezuela who got the other award, and they're doing it now every year, this award. So I'd say, I was the second one. President Trump was the first one. I was the second one. So
Awesome. That is awesome.
Martha, you are
that
just
is-
amazing.
that is-
God has blessed you.
I
in
want to
so
just
many
touch her
ways.
so I can get some
I
of that magic.
know.
I need some of that magic. Bring it on,
All right. Well, thank you so much for all you do, for being such an inspiration, for giving to your community. I don't even like to say giving back to your community. I just say giving to your community.
Yeah.
And building other people up, the next generation. And tell folks, just as we close out, how they can follow you and continue following this amazing journey that you're on.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for having me. And it's been an amazing ride. They can go to my website, marthallamas.com. They can see all the things I'm doing there. And I'm working on my book now. And I'm going to work right now on a different calendar so I can at least have 1 hour a day to talk to any woman. It can be from domestic violence, or any woman who wants to start their own business, or just, a girl's one-on-one, and just lift them up and say, if you're down at this time, at this day, I have time for 1 hour for you. Just call me and we'll chat like a couple of girlfriends and lift you up, or you lift me up. I'm never down. If I'm down, I will hide, but I'm very, very, very proactive and very, very happy. And I want to give that back to anybody who needs energy. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. And I'm sure we will have you back on.
Yeah, thank you. Love you
Martha.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, what a story. Huh?
What a story. Holy
and
cow.
people are crying because they can't make it. But she has to go through abuse,
give
shot.
Give her an excuse why you can't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Try that on Martha.
Yeah.
Well, I can't because no, I'm sorry. That's not acceptable. There is a way.
So you can't because you won't.
Telling you.
Yeah.
Well, we are way over
over.
time, but how could I have cut anything from that conversation? And you barely got a word in.
I didn't need it. I enjoyed listening to what she had to say.
Incredible.
It just knows that the dreams are still out there, and the dreams work if you just apply them.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
And then the government doesn't try to stop us from doing it. That's the big problem. And,
yeah, the bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. I think that's Dennis Prager who says that.
and
It's true.
why is it that I hate to say it, but the Democratic Party is oppressing their people?
I don't know. And that's the odd thing, is because the Democratic Party, when we were growing up, they were for like the blue collar worker and trying to, fight back against all the big cats, the fat cats. And I don't understand what has happened.
I do. The blue collar people ran out of money supporting all their welfare, and now they're going after the big people to get the welfare.
I mean, I guess,
But
but why would
anyway.
it seems they've embraced Marxism, and Marxism is a very class-based system where you're going to have the absolutely have nothings and the people who have everything, and the people who have everything crush historically the people who have nothing. And it's a very sad moment in history. And I really wish that we had a very strong Democratic Party and a very strong Republican Party and a very strong Libertarian Party. And that tension between the three was all still focused on supporting,
The
protecting,
Constitution.
and defending our Constitution. And that is
And
not
who
what
wouldn't
we have
love
right now,
Who wouldn't love a Democrat that followed the Constitution?
right?
Right?
Because I don't care
But-
what your label
Right.
is.
I
Just
I
be
don't
a
care if you're white,
constitutionalist.
brown, green, yellow. Democrat, Republican, Independent. If you follow the Constitution, you're my guy
Exactly.
or girl.
Okay. All right. Got to get out of here. Thank you so much to our amazing guest, Martha Llamas. Thank you to our listeners, our viewers who are all across the planet. Like she says that she's part of Janny King, which is a global company. Well, we are a global presence. Everywhere there is internet, people are seeking out the information that we share on this show with these amazing subject matter experts. And Martha needs a reality show. That's the word I couldn't think of at the beginning. She needs her own reality show.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't like reality shows because they're not reality.
I know, but if hers was real,
but they don't do that though.
I know.
They don't do that.
Anyway, thank you so much for spending time with us. If you want to watch this show over or watch any of our videos, go to YouTube or GunStreamer or the smartphone app that will, any place that streams videos, you can find us. And when you get there, please click the subscribe and the notification button, because that tells those platforms that you want this information, that is valuable to you. And that's helps us hedge against being canceled, which is kind of the big thing right now, is right. You don't like what somebody says, cancel them. If you want to listen to the audio only version of any of these shows, go to our website, GunFreedomRadio.com, click the on demand tab, and
binge listen to your heart's content, darling.
That was a little over the top. Just a little.
Binge listen to your heart content, darling.
That was a little under the top.
Binge listens to your heart content, darling.
Nice. I like it. All right. And if you want to see the photos and bios and works of all of the guests that we've ever had on, click the guest tab. It's a wonderful resource. It's ever growing. And when you spend time there, we don't hate that.
But it's time for us to pray for our nation.
It is. And pray for our
leaders,
right? Anyone who's in a leadership position, like
and
Martha.
Right. It doesn't have to be a political leadership position.
Right, exactly. But what about those few out there somewhere, maybe that we don't like too much? Do we?
Well, first of all, there's not a few.
Okay. But do we pray for them too?
Oh, of course we do.
Maybe especially for them, right?
Especially.
All right. Until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week, and God bless.
Bye-bye.